had a great guest on, Brandon Roberts with New Legacy Homes, South Tampa, custom luxury spec home builder. We've got a listing of ours at 3919 West Leona Street with them. Free 1.0 buy down on that house. In fact, free 1.0 buy down on all single family listings of ours presently. So if you're interest rate conscious and wanting to get a good deal, a lot of home builders offer these rate buy downs. And while our mortgage company can't quite do some of the 2-1 buy downs or 3-2-1 buy downs that builders do, we're offering a 1.0 buy down on listings of ours. So would love the opportunity to work with you. You can go to our mortgage company directly at citywidetampa.com or inquire with our team on any one of our listings at theduncanduo.com, including 3919 West Leona Street. So I had a monthly conversation with a large hedge fund. Some of these hedge funds reach out because of my experience in the marketplace and how long I've been selling real estate, and they want to ask me advice about what's going on in the market. So I have these calls where, I'm a consultant to them and we're going through the statistics. So each and every month I'm reviewing these stats and I'm talking to them and also hearing what's going on in other markets. Well, I reviewed the stats for December in Tampa, and I saw a couple things that surprised me that I want to share with you because I think they're relevant to our real estate market. And I want to preface this by telling you that the Tampa Bay real estate market is unlike any other real estate market in the country over the last couple of years. For one, a lot of the challenges in our market were contributed by hurricanes. The majority of the other markets in the country didn't have those like we did in 2024. So 2025 was a year where we felt a lot of hurricane impact. You obviously had all of the homes that were damaged and the time and energy it took to renovate those and clean those up, to clean up communities. You had the bad PR that we got hit with those, which scares people away from living in Tampa Bay. So they get afraid and they decide not to buy in Tampa Bay because they're afraid of hurricanes. So that causes fear. And then you've got some tax and insurance obstacles that come along with that. So altogether, 2025 was a rough year for real estate because of not just the overhang of the market and high interest rates and, challenging from an economic standpoint, but a local standpoint that was challenging, local information that was challenging because of the hurricane hangover. So now that that's starting to clear out, I felt like it was starting to clear out at the end of last year. I felt an uptick in my business and a resurgence starting to happen. And so whenever I feel that, I'm looking at data like website hits and information from our CRM and then sales within my own team. A lot of the national news is using, 2 and 3 month old data sometimes. So you might hear like, oh, home sales are down or prices are down and think that that's relevant. And it might be relevant nationally, but not relevant in Tampa. Tampa might be outperforming that. It's kind of like, the stock index. If you hear the Dow is up on a particular day, that doesn't mean every stock is up. Okay. It means it's an index. Well, when you hear real estate prices are up, it doesn't mean that every city in the country is up or is down. Some are and some aren't. So you got to drill down to the local market. And in our local market, 25 was tough. We saw home values drop and we saw home sales drop. We've dealt with more customers that were doing a short sale than we had seen in a long time. So that being said, when I looked at the December 2025 stats, there were two things that stuck out to me that made me feel even more optimistic about 2026 than I was previously. And look, I'll say this. There are a couple reasons why I feel optimistic that I'll share. But the first statistic that I was optimistically happy about was that total home sales increased year over year. Now, look, they certainly increased from 24 to 25, but that was irrelevant because in 24, so many home sales got zapped and canceled and people were so afraid because it was on the heels of those two hurricanes. So 24 was just really rough. So we did see an increase from 24 to 25, but to me, it's not an increase in demand. It was almost artificial. Home sales were going to increase from a period of time where we had the two worst hurricanes in a few month period in our city's last couple of decades. But seeing an increase from December of 24 to December of 25 was still a positive. And the reason it was a positive was because it was a few months after. So of course, if you compare September or October, those were really rough. By December of 2025, the market, or December of 24, the market had recovered a little bit. So we saw a year over year increase in home sales. And for most of the year, we were not seeing that. So that's the first positive thing. The second positive thing was that we saw the highest average sale price in Tampa's history. We saw 516,000 average sale price. It was an enormous jump from November. That is not normal, statistically normal. I want to say it was somewhere near a 7 or 8% bump month over month, and a substantial bump year over year on the average sale price. Again, that is a great month. That is appreciation that we saw month over month and year over year. However, I don't really start celebrating until we see that happen a few months in a row. It could be a statistical anomaly. It could be a few high-end sales. It could be a lot of people just trying to get in for the homestead exemption. I don't think it's that. And I think we're going to see January and February stats that outperform last year. And I think we're going to continue to see 26 outperform 25. And here's why. First, we've seen a relief in interest rates. We have a president that's very pro-housing, that is going to do, whether you like it or not, is going to do things to juice and improve housing affordability and increase sales. Whether they're tax related, whether they're interest rate related, he is going to impact and influence housing for the better. So we have that to our advantage. I think in the second half of the year, we'll see some more interest rate relief. We're seeing the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac buy mortgage-backed securities and mortgage-backed bonds that allows interest rates to soften. They dropped almost a quarter point in one day when Trump announced that. In addition to all of those things, there's some local things happening. One, we're another year away from the hurricanes. So that isn't on the news in other countries and in other states on the regular. You're not seeing the dominant weather news story in the country in 2024 was Helene and Milton. That's no longer the case. That isn't on the top of people's mind anymore. There have been other catastrophic storms and wars and other things going on that have kind of kicked it off to the side, and more time has passed for the area to heal and for people mentally to not be consistently pounded with information about those two storms. So that is a positive. Statewide, there is another positive, and it is the positive that I am most excited about. The state of Florida is going to institute a plan that is going to massively cut property taxes to eventually abolish non-school property taxes for homestead properties. The plan that they're rolling out that is proposed now would knock off $100,000 each year for homestead properties on your property exemption non-school taxes. By year 10, everybody that is a homestead property would not pay non-school taxes. Pretty incredible. I like how they're doing it. I like the 10-year plan. I like the fact that it rolls out to the lowest priced homes first. It impacts affordability. It is very bullish for real estate in Tampa. I believe when markets move, they move ahead of an anticipation of news. If we think that interest rates are going to soften later this year, and if we believe that there's a reasonably good chance that this property tax legislation passes in some form to massively reduce property taxes, what does that do to people's payments? If interest rates drop and taxes get dramatically reduced, it starts to put people's payments back in line with what they were during the COVID boom when we had interest rates in the threes. People buy on payment. They don't buy on the rate. Taxes and a cut in taxes is going to dramatically reduce their payment while interest rates are dropping. I think we see another boom. I think this is the first step of the public starting to recognize that. And I think smart consumers are starting to say, hey, look, the president has spoken. The data is out there. We know what's coming. We need to act in ahead of that, because if we wait until all that stuff happens, that is probably and likely going to happen, prices will skyrocket, just like they did during COVID when we saw 32+% appreciation. So if you are a home buyer and you're saying, oh, I'm going to wait till rates drop, or I'm going to wait until property taxes start cutting, let me tell you that you are going to be too late. It's kind of like getting a stock tip. Again, I'm not talking about a stock tip from an insider. I'm telling you somebody experienced that believes the stock is going to rise, an experienced investor that sees and knows something and gives you that tip before it's publicly known. They catch something in the data and then you're going to wait until everyone else starts buying stock? No, you got to do it now. And I think smart money right now is starting to line up. People are starting to prepare. They're making their moves. They're going to upgrade their house. They're going to accept the interest rate and maybe refinance later. They're going to get into these opportunities before, because if you wait until prices start rising, when interest rates are down, you're not really winning financially. In fact, you might end up overpaying for that house, and the payment that you think you're going to save by lower rates and lower taxes gets wiped out by the massive increase in value. December, we saw that for the first time. We saw a massive bump in our average sale price. The other thing that I think is important to align with real estate is when we have currency devaluation in this country, assets skyrocket. Look what's happening with gold and silver. Gold and silver are skyrocketing as the dollar is weakening because the dollar becomes less valuable. Assets will go up. And guess what is an asset? Real estate. Real estate is primed for what's going to happen in the next few years. And I think you're missing out if you wait until all that activity happens. You need to act in anticipation of it. Smart money is doing that right now. And that's why I think we're on the verge of a boom. I think the real estate market in 26 is going to be a lot better than 25. Again, assuming no hurricanes. Secondarily, I think 27 builds on it and is even better in our market. So why wait until it's skyrocketing? Why wait until the market prices you out again? Why wait until you can't afford it? If you can't afford it, you should be looking to do something now. We would love to help you with that at theduncanduo.com. Form your home search there. You can also get your free home value estimate at duncanduo.com. You can get an instant cash offer for your home. Or if you're just nosy, you want to know what's going on with your neighbor's house, you want to know if anyone in your neighborhood's in foreclosure, just hit up duncanduo.com. We would love our team to help you. Our team of experts been in the business. I've been in the business 21 years. I've got multiple agents with 10 plus years of experience, some of the most productive agents in the market. We would love to help you. The cream rises to the top in a challenging real estate market, and our agents continue to outproduce the average. And we would love to help you again at duncanduo.com.